Welcome to the first ever WCI iEngage Fireside Chat. I'm Robert Hartley. I'm delighted to be joined today by Claire Burrell. Claire, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Claire Burrell, I'm the Senior Warden for the WCI and delighted to join you for this first Fireside Chat.
Thank you. I thought we would start with talking about your position in WCI and then we could dive into your insurance career.
Okay.
So, how long have you been a member of WCI? How did you find out about it?
So I joined the WCI in 2015. I was introduced by past master Graham Dickinson. He invited me to an event at the Fishmongers Hall on London Bridge, which is famous for very wrong reasons these days. And I went into the room and I thought, oh, goodness me, there's a lot of important people in here. I'm not sure how I fit in. And I sat at the lunch and we had a most excellent speaker, and actually the table conversation was fantastic. And I learned more about the livery, and I went to a couple more events, and then I got invited to join, and I thought, actually, I think this is going to be interesting. So I joined. That's kind of that history.
Yeah, I think likewise, same as myself, you get invited to an event, you see how much fun it is and the networking, and you want to sign up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've very quickly kind of got involved in the livery, and one of the things I saw you've done is get involved with the Lord Mayor's show.
Yeah, so I think when I first joined the livery, I lived down near Brighton and I was working locally, and then I changed jobs into working in the city. And actually that gave me the opportunity to attend more things, and I went to a lunch, one of the informal lunches on a Friday. I walked into the room and I thought, okay, what's going on in here? And I had the fortune to sit next to Terry Masters, who was Junior Warden at that time. And in my best approach, Terry said, what do you think of the livery, Claire? And I went, well, I've just walked into the room and I felt quite uncomfortable and I couldn't be identified as a member. And we had a really good conversation, and Terry said, well, get involved, do something, get yourself into it, don't sit as a bystander. And I went away and I contemplated that, and then I got introduced to Nick Smith, who was the chair of the livery committee at the time, and he kindly invited me to come along to a couple of their livery committees, and I got asked to join, which I did. And then I think, you know that thing where they say volunteers and everybody steps back and you're left at the front, and they said, well, we'd like to do the Lord Mayor's Parade. In previous years, we'd just run that by joining other modern liveries, but we were getting to a point where the WCI kind of wanted to make its presence known within City Civic, and we were starting to look at our approach, working with common councillors, etc., sheriffs. And everybody stepped back and I was still standing, so I said, okay, I'll do that. Not a clue what that involved. I did learn quickly. But what a fantastic experience. There was a very small working committee working with Terry at the time, as he was up and coming master. And we wanted something that worked for the general public. The Lord Mayor's Parade is about parading the Lord Mayor around, introducing him to his people of London. So we needed something that resonated, and insurance is a bit, nobody really understands that. So the team came up with the slogan, London insures the world, and then we're like, well, what do we do with that? So we got to the conclusion of creating this enormous balloon with the world on, with the logo on it, and then we had to work out how to get that made. Luckily, the company that I was working, the insurer I was working for at the time, had an amazing events and marketing team, and they put me in touch with a lady who worked doing Notting Hill Carnival. Not a problem, she was just perfect. So we did that, we got a parade, we got sponsors, and the rest they say is history, and now we have a committee that looks after that and does an absolutely fantastic job making sure that that's just like a machine each year. So there you go, that's where I got to with that. From the livery committee, I became chair of the livery committee when Nick ended his term. We do sort of 2-3 year stints. I was asked to take over that, and I'm a bad planner, great organiser, I think is how I would describe myself. So started looking after the livery committee, got invited to the court. How you get into the chair of junior warden, senior warden and master, still a bit of a mystery to me. That's not my choice or selection, but the more I got involved, the more I enjoyed it. We did the first Sheriff's Challenge, which is working with school year 12s, lower 6th in older money for our audience. Working with schools in a debating competition where the final was held in the Old Bailey in court number 1 in front of High Court judges. Wow, those students are amazing. That is the most terrifying experience. But working with them, coaching them, teaching them their debating skills, and that's just a fantastic experience to see what you get at the beginning and what the students are able to deliver at the end, and the confidence it gives them. It's just brilliant to watch. There's so many different things that we do as a livery that if you've got the time and the inclination, the world's your oyster, really.
That's fantastic, thank you, Claire. That's a really good dive into how you've gone through the livery and how you've ended up as our senior warden.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you. That was a perfect journey through. Next exciting step for you. You're en route to now become the next master.
I am indeed.
I'm ashamed I'm not going to be able to make the dinner, the ordination dinner.
I'm sure there's some penalty for that. We have fine livery fines. I'm sure I can find one.
Yeah, thank you. It unfortunately clashes with a conference in Vegas, so these things happen.
Yeah, these things happen.
And,
if you win big on the slots, let me know.
I'll let you know for sure. And so your role, how do you think it will change when you go from senior warden to master?
It's going to be an absolutely huge change. So your junior warden year is really starting to learn sort of the underworld of the city civic. There's lots of things go on. I mean, the livery companies as a whole are one of the biggest charity donators in the UK. They do so much work. And as you start in as junior warden, you start to do more of your livery connections and city civic and working with other liveries and actually how we can collaborate and drive change. So that's really interesting to start learning that. There's also quite a lot of ceremonial things that are very traditional. You know, we talk about the Great 12, the 4 founders of our livery organisation. Then there's sort of the mid-range, and we're described as a modern livery, reflecting modern trades. And as you know, to be a member of our livery, you have to trade in insurance. You have to be connected to insurance. So junior warden, you kind of learn the ropes. Senior warden is for me, has been much more about working with our internal committees, understanding how they work, working with the charity, working with the clerk's office. And it is a little bit like running a very small business. You've got a P&L to take care of, you've got your membership to take care of, and in effect you're, in business terms, the CEO. The bigger part of the role, and certainly for me, I am so fortunate because this year, not only have we had Nick Lyons, who's our current Lord Mayor, who's also a member of our company, we have 2 sheriffs that are due to be elected into office next week. Which is Alderwoman Dame Sue Langley and Alderman Bronick Masiada, and I think both names will be well known to our membership. And they're both sheriffs, and this is the first time in history that one mother company has had 2 sheriffs, as far as we're aware, and 1 master. So it's so exciting. So there's a level of ceremonial involvement that perhaps we've not been involved in before being a mother company, which goes full circle for me. So we started with the Lord Mayor's Parade, and this year I actually get to go in a carriage.
Yeah.
How fantastic is that?
That is fantastic.
That's so exciting. So I think for me the change is really, if I sum it up, representing the livery movement and our profession both within City Civic, but also that broader footprint of our industry, and working with our sheriffs who've got really similar themes to what we're trying to do within the WCI. This is about accessibility to our industry and our profession, how we work with our hidden communities, those ones that are live not too far from our square mile that think we work in ivory towers. Actually, we don't. We're all normal human beings. How do we get those? How do we get that diversity and inclusion, and remove some of those barriers to get people into what is a great career?
Yeah.
Lots to do, and I'm really excited about it, and equally nervous.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's fantastic. Well done what you've done with the Lord's Mayor show already. And great for Sue and Bronick to now be stepping up as sheriffs as well. Yeah. So they'll be sheriffs when you become masters?
Yeah, so they go into office next week. Yeah. And then I take office on the 11th of October, which is our common hall, which in livery terms is kind of changing of the guard. You serve a 1-year term, and you do a common hall, which is kind of like your general meeting. The outgoing master does an update of what's happened in the prior year, and then the new master sets out goals for the future.
And are we allowed a sneak preview of the goals, or do you want to keep that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, anybody that knows me or will have spoken to me knows that I absolutely bang on about how we recruit people into our industry and the perceived barriers that we have, and how we're just not accessible, and we are a vessel as an insurance group organisation that needs lots of different skills and capabilities. We don't all need to be an underwriting professional, an actuary, a broker, or a claims person, which are probably our traditional roles. We need analysts, we need scientists, we need marketing people, we need people that look after our buildings, we need IT people, we need technology. We've got to build products that deliver to the future. How are we doing that innovation? How are we taking, and you've got children and I've got children, how are we taking the way that they learn and what they're going to need to protect their futures? How are we creating jobs for them using old definitions and learnings? We've got to change it. We've got to make it accessible. I don't have all the answers, but I've got a view that working with the WCI in the reach that we have, both from an industry professional working with the CII and other professional bodies, and our membership, actually we're in a great place to be, I'm going to use the word aggregator because we're an insurer and work in insurance, but aggregate those things together, be a destination, so we can say, oh, you want to learn about that? We know the exact people. Here, join this link, move over here. They'll be able to help you with that, and I'm really passionate about what we do for a living. We're here to protect people, protect companies. How do we actually just be more open?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, brilliant.
So there's the challenge for all our membership.
There is, yeah, and you're absolutely right. The insurance industry covers everything. It covers all sorts of, all walks of life. Every business, every individual is somehow using it, or buying it, or impacted by it. And so, as someone coming into the industry, they've got a great opportunity to be able to try different areas.
And just think about the global economy. Nothing gets built, nothing sets sail. Nothing, we don't have a satellite for our mobile phone unless we have some insurance cover and somebody is taking the risk. Mm-hmm. We probably need to be renamed risk, but that's bigger than delivery.
And you touched on, thank you so much, that was great insight into the WCI life. I thought now we can, as a sort of nice segue from when you talked about inclusivity, I thought it'd be quite a good an intro into your life in insurance, because I remember starting 20 years ago, it's very much a white male industry, or male dominated, and I was interested how you found that when you came in. What made you think of insurance as a career, and did you find any roadblocks, and how you dealt with those?
That's a big question.
It is.
I didn't found insurance found me. I grew up in a tiny little village in North Yorkshire, as you can tell from my beautiful accent, and I moved to the metropolis that was Leeds, and I got 2 job offers. One was in a law firm, doing administration for a law firm, and the other was in an insurance company. And I just liked the feel of the insurance company better, so I joined as a filing clerk in their claims department for what was back in the day Steer Drake Insurance. And the rest, they say, is history. I loved it. I progressed, became a team leader, an office manager, and then just stayed in insurance. So my discipline, my original discipline is claims, but as I moved through my career, I kind of had either fixing a problem or creating something new. So kind of working in that change agenda, which moves you into where I am today, kind of in a COO role. So you understand the breadth. You start life as an absolute expert in something in your insurance career, and the further you get into it, the more you're not an expert anymore. You're much more of a broad scope person. I think I would reflect that. Barriers or challenges. I think definitely when I started, there wasn't any female directors or very few female leadership, and if there were female leadership, they were often in HR or marketing. They weren't in underwriting, claims, etc. But I never perceived that there was a barrier. For me, it was always about your skills or your ability. I think the biggest challenges, and I'm much older, was things like taking maternity leave and then coming back in. Your maternity leave was quite short. Coming back into a business and having that sick baby at home, or having to flex a little bit in the days when that didn't happen. Oh my goodness, thank goodness for paternity leave. And hasn't COVID been amazing? Because I love it now. If I put an 8:30 call in and one of the guys on the call goes, sorry, school run, can we move it? I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I want to hear. And I'm being very fortunate. Andrew, my partner, we co-parent, and I mean, we both have full-time jobs, so it works, and our kids have understood that all the way through, and we've always communicated well. So I think maternity, coming back in, recognising your career break, trying to balance fairly senior roles, meetings, board meetings with small people that are often not well, particularly when you first go back to work. I think that was really challenging. And then, and this is probably an inside challenge rather than an outside challenge, but as you progress further and recognising there wasn't always other female leads when you get to board positions, just your tone of voice, the way that you articulate things, the way that you think is often very different to your male colleagues. So you can be sat in a board meeting and you can say something and there's kind of, oh, there's a different tone of voice in here, there's a different way of thinking. And it took me a little while to realise that still had the same value. And my voice and opinion was there. I wouldn't be making it if I didn't think it was an important point, but it took me a while to recognise that. But I think we've come such a long way. We've still got places to go, there's still pockets of challenges in our industry, but I've only worked in the London market since 2016, and personally I've not had any issues with any sort of restriction around being gender, female gender at all.
That's great. Yeah, it's good to hear. I agree. I think the industry has moved on massively in the 20 years that I've seen.
And it has.
And it's wonderful to see.
It's got to be about capability and ability.
It does. Yeah, it should always be about that. Absolutely.
Always, I agree.
And as you say, having that diversity gives you breadth of knowledge. And that's also one of the things I like about the WCI, is when you go to those networking events, you get that breadth of knowledge of people in the room, and there's so much to learn.
Look, the WCI, we have got a great statistic. The WCI has a court, which is in effect a board.
Yeah.
And on our court, we're at least 50% women, if not just slightly over.
That's great, yeah.
It's fantastic.
Thank you for that. That's a great insight into your career so far. I was thinking, if someone coming into insurance new, what sort of advice could you give them to kickstart their career?
What would I say? Careers aren't linear. You don't naturally go that way. You go broader often, side to side. A job role is a job role. When you start doing the job, it's actually what you make it. What's written down is sometimes so. And I think perhaps more so for women, there's a statistic that says a woman would need to know at least 95% of the job before she accepted it, whereas a man would go 50%, yeah, that's right. And I think somebody quoted that last week at something I was at. Actually, it was Dame Sue Langley quoted it. And there's some truth in that, but actually if you look at a job role written down, it's actually how you interpret that and how you deliver to that. So I think always be yourself, and be kind, because I don't think that costs anything. That if you work hard, the rewards will come. That's natural.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, thank you. That's great advice. And I suppose feeding into that, maybe 3 things you could tell me about what you've learned through your career.
Ooh, that's quite hard. Always ask questions and don't assume. Insurance has lots of acronyms and all sorts of things. Just ask the question, never assume. Work hard, you will get your rewards. And keep perspective and humour, because on the difficult days, they're probably the things that you need. They're probably my 3 things.
Good ones, okay, yeah, thank you. I think I could add to that, don't send an email when you're angry.
Safe to draft. That's a good one.
Safe to draft.
Safe to draft.
Yeah.
I forgot that one.
Pick it up again later. When it's never too. It's no rush. You can always come back to it.
Don't text drunk either.
Yeah, don't text drunk.
That's
okay. Well, thank you. I think we're just on to the sort of last now. Fun facts, if you have any. So, what 3 facts we might gain about you from personal or professional?
I'm not sure I have fun facts. Yeah. I think for me, you get what you see. I don't have different layers or different levels. I'm quite direct and transparent as a person. What do I do outside of the WCI? That kind of takes up quite a lot of my time. Obviously the classic mum's cab, got to do that, taking the kids here, there and everywhere. So that's probably been about 15 years of my life. Other than that, I think with the family, just making memories. So making sure we do some silly things, some good things. My eldest daughter, much to her dad's disgust, I bought her a 10,000-foot aeroplane jump, parachute jump. Because you've got to have that memory, haven't you? Yeah. So doing things where we can make memories as a family, I think is important, because those things are what stick when you get older and you remember, rather than just the mundane, oh, I'm so busy. So try to do those sorts of things. My family are all kind of like planning and warning, and I'm a bit more. I like organising, but I don't necessarily tell everybody the plan. So sometimes I'm like, oh, we're doing this today, and they're like, oh. So I would say making memories, that's important.
That's great, thank you. That's brilliant. Well, that's all I have to ask. Is there anything else you may want to add to anything? I think we've covered a lot.
No, I think just out to the membership, ask questions, talk to people, we're all approachable. Don't ever feel that you're not included, and the door's open.